Okay, so we'll do a clap sync to make sure everything's in sync. So I've been thinking of lots of different videos I can make during the lockdown, and actually in the UK currently we are allowed to go out for a walk of up to 1 hour, and I've been kind of being quite disciplined with that actually, and sticking to my local area around here. So I was thinking about a video I could make based on a walk around a very close area to where I live. And actually I remembered there's a fantastic resource online provided by the Archaeology of Greater London service, which I think is a part of the MOLA, which I think is the Museum of London Archaeology, and they produced an interactive kind of online map a few years ago now, and it's wonderful, and it has the local archaeological discoveries based on, located in the streets, so you can see what was discovered where, and it breaks it down in a very kind of easy to use way. It's a fantastic map, but I've never actually used it for a walk, which is crazy in a way. So this is the perfect opportunity for me to try and construct a little walk close to where I live, checking out these archaeological sites. It's a little kind of activity one can do, as a lockdown thing, and you could do this wherever you are. So this here shows us London as a whole, and what's wonderful, what I love about this particular map, is it shows you the river valleys as the principal kind of topographical features. So if we punch in, if we zoom in here, so you've got Wanstead here. You see actually there's quite a lot of activity around Leyton and Leytonstone. Obviously you've got more around here. This is around Stratford and Hackney here. So we're going to punch in. So this is the main area that we're going to explore. So I decided to add another layer to my walk by taking a look at the Second World War bomb damage maps of the area. So I think that's enough looking at digital maps on a computer. I think we need to go out into the streets and explore on the ground and see what we can see. So just going to head out on my daily Corona walk. I'll bring you along with me. This is kind of the terrain that I walk around close to where I live. You're allowed to go out for up to an hour a day, and I take that quite seriously. I love this view here. Just going down Norlington Road, Leytonstone, to the boundary with Leyton, and we're clearly here looking down into a river valley. This is one of the first indications for me that there was a river running down through here beneath the streets. Dennis's shop there. Fantastic shop that's been keeping us supplied throughout the lockdown. He's got everything in there. So the Phillip Brook runs beneath the street here, right down Norlington Road. There's a video on my channel here, which I'll link to below, that shows you the walk along the entire length of the Phillip Brook. And the Phillip Brook and Newport Road today, that marks the boundary, one of the boundaries between Leyton and Leytonstone. So now I've crossed from Leytonstone over there, that's Leytonstone, and now I'm actually technically in Leyton. And here behind me was the site of a high explosive bomb that fell during the Second World War, during the Blitz. Norlington Road here was originally called Bent's Lane, after the family that owned the local farm here, the Grove Farm, sometimes referred to as Bent's Farm. At some point the name changed, but it's recorded back as Bent's Lane as far as 1741. Norlington Road Secondary School. Apparently that's where Graham Gooch went to school, the England cricketer, and actually captain of the England cricket team at one point when I was a kid. You only have to go back to like the 1860s to see when this area was all fields. All of this here, around here, was covered in fields, and they started to develop it in the 1880s. And the street pattern you see today was complete by about 1901, between 1901 and 1910. So it took about no more than 20 years really to completely cover this entire area with the houses that you see here today. The notable exceptions, of course, will be the ones that we're going to look at today, where they were bombed in the Second World War, and they kind of stick out like a sore thumb. This land would have all been part of a couple of estates, usually attached to grand houses. There was the Great House in Leyton, and I think from this side of Phillybrook to Leyton High Road was the Great House estate. Then you had further down towards Leyton High Road, you had the Phillybrook estate, named after the river, and back there you had Bent's Farm as well. So they were developed in sort of parcels as builders bought bits of the land and started to build them up over that period of time. This is Claude Road, which runs into Francis Road, and I'm dipping into some of the information in David Boot's wonderful directory of the street names of Leyton and Leytonstone. He gives a little story of where the names come from and the history of that street, and I will link to that publication below. And Claude Road is the first name of one of the office juniors of the developer who built these houses. It was Claude, and another one of his juniors was called Francis, and that were the names of two of the roads. It's pretty easy to spot where the high explosive bomb fell sometime between 1940 and 1941. And this is what the houses would have looked like before the bomb was dropped. Oh, it must have been a really big bomb, because you can see how many houses it took out. There's a great website called Bomb Sites, where you can look up streets and areas and see where each bomb fell, and it gives you a little bit of detail on that bomb. Often the sites stick out like sore thumbs, actually. I think we need to go back, actually. We're going to go back up here and then down another road that has some bombs, and then we'll go in search of a Bronze Age site. Wow. It's the fantastic East London studios. There's some great artists working in those studios there. I think they used to make tents for the army previously in that factory. So I interviewed the brilliant artist Jessica Vorsanger. I'll link to that video below. You've got bits of old industrial Leyton here, some of the surviving factories. And this is where there was a cricket ground up until around 1919. That's when it disappears, and there was a pavilion there. I've always found this kind of intersection here between Morley Road and Scots Road quite intriguing, because it's quite a big area, isn't it? The branching of two roads. A bomb did fall in Scots Road, and another fell in Morley Road, but not at this junction, I don't think, because that church predates the war, I believe. Let's go have a look. You can see here, look. So the foundation stone was laid in 1905. So this church was very lucky to survive the bombing. So I guess this little space here where we've got these garages must be where the bomb fell. Doesn't seem to have done as much damage as it did in Claude Road. What's great about this kind of activity, it shows that you can get a lot out of a very small area just by looking at it on a kind of micro level, on a kind of house by house level, street by street level. There's so much to explore, and this would apply wherever you live. It doesn't have to just be London. I mean, we're lucky we've got these maps provided by the Museum of London Archaeological Service and the bomb sites map, but you know, you can find this information in your local archives just by getting old maps and going through the different stages just to see the kind of layers of change that occurred. So this is Morley Road, and a bomb fell somewhere down the end of this road, I think on the right hand side. That's interesting, there's no obvious site where the bomb fell. I think it fell behind the houses. This is the site of the old police station, a magnificent building. Again, was built before the war. Now we've got a couple of archaeological sites here as we go up towards Leyton High Road, and then we'll loop back About halfway through my my 1 hour government mandated walk. We've already got so much in, haven't we? It's amazing. Parts of this building here, Walnut Tree House, are actually very old, but at some point they excavated a Paleolithic floor in the grounds of this building, which must make it one of the oldest sites in Leyton. It's incredible, isn't it? Just doing a little bit of Leyton High Road. I've tended to avoid main roads for the last couple of weeks actually, because this is where you're most likely to encounter people when you can't get out of the way, but I'm just going to go to a site up here. That's a great little coffee shop and roastery there. Hope they managed to make it through these difficult times. Well, this is interesting. Here on the corner of Lindley Road and Leyton High Road was where there was discovered a decorated Saxon tombstone. Just to right about where I'm stood now. Of course, this area of Leyton here is associated with the original Saxon settlement, the Tun by the Lee, the Leyton. Good now to be getting away from the high road, turning back towards Francis Road. Got to pick up another couple of sites on the way back home, and that will be our 1 hour daily Corona walk. Wow, that's the great thing with doing these kind of local walks. You notice things you've never noticed before. This beautiful building here in Lindley Road, it's called the Lantern of Knowledge Educational Institute. And next door to it, look, we have Salvation Castle. Great stuff, Merchison Road. This is our next stop on this archaeology of Leyton and Leytonstone walk. Well, it's actually only really Leyton, isn't it? But and again, we've got a great view down there. At the bottom of this street is the Philibrook as it runs into Sidmouth Park. I really hope that bin lorry moves, because it's right on top of a very important archaeological site. So basically where that dustbin lorry is, a socketed Bronze Age axe was discovered, which is incredible, isn't it? Socketed Bronze Age axe was found right here in Merchison Road. Somebody either buried it deliberately or dropped it down here beneath the tarmac. And again, we're looking down there into the valley of the Philibrook, cuts across Francis Road. And Merchison Road is one of a series of streets around Francis Road that was named after great British scientists. There's Faraday back there and a few others. Murchison apparently was a geologist who anticipated the discovery of gold in Australia. This is another note from David Booth's wonderful book about the streets of Leyton and Leytonstone. There is quite an important Bronze Age site in Leyton that was discovered sort of on the other side of Au.Ra Road, not far from Leyton Orient Football Ground in Au.Ra Close, and there was like an enclosure that was found there that was quite a distinctive type of enclosure. Incidentally, another similar type of enclosure was discovered in the Olympic Park, so whether they were part of the same community or not, I don't know. But who knows? That socketed Bronze Age axe that was found there could be something to do with that community. And there was also a Bronze Age sword that was discovered on the other side of Leytonstone High Road at Harrow Green. So this is an area of great antiquity. What are we doing for time? Right, 10 minutes. Time to head home. So we're just going to double back now along Norlington Road and back through the valley of the Philibrook. There are some more sites we could visit. There's some flint artefacts near the, not far from the Heathcote Arms pub, which is amazing. Got Neolithic flints and There's a few more bomb sites over this side as well, and more towards Leytonstone Station, some more flint artefacts and some bad bombing. But that will take us over our allotted hour, and I'm taking the government guidance very seriously, so sticking to my hour. And what a great Corona walk it's been. It's been the most fun I've had on a Corona walk. You can sort of jazz up your Corona walk any way you like, really. I love a bit of history and a bit of archaeology, so that's given it an added tinge for me. But you can play all sorts of games with it if you like. Try and walk every street within a sort of confined area. You could do what I call an algorithmic derive, write a series of instructions and just follow them for an hour. It's like first left, second right, first left, repeat, that kind of thing. You can have all sorts of fun. Anyway, thanks for joining me on that wonderful walk, discovering the ancient history of Leyton. Right on our doorsteps, or right on my doorstep anyway. And I look forward to seeing you on the next walk. Stay safe, stay calm, and who knows, wherever that walk may be.